Hi, this is RN Bhaskar, and I'm from Bhaskar Ki Business Batein. And like always, we come to you with policy analysis, an occasional story, and an occasional conversation. And this time we look at policy, but not in the normal way. We're going to look at the geopolitical implications which could lead to changes in policy for India. And the geopolitical implications arise from some of the statements that the newly elected President Trump has made. As soon as President Trump assumed office, in fact, it said it even earlier, that he was keen on making America great again, or MAGA. When he assumed office, one of his first executive orders were that he was removing all constraints on oil and gas production in America. He wanted America to start producing more oil and gas, to make the price of gas go down, to make the price of oil go down. And this way, he thought he could achieve two objectives. One, he would make the people of the US very happy because they would get gas and oil at a cheaper rate. But his second objective was to bring the price of gas and oil down so that Russia would not earn as much as it is earning today. Please remember that when America imposed sanctions on Russia, it thought that Russia would be broken. But Russia started selling its oil to China and to India, its oil and gas. Then it started selling to the rest of the world. And the entire sanction strategy the US went cut. Now, he thought if he could reduce the price of oil, that would bleed Russia. Okay, so the executive order was given, and he said, no restraints on gas production. All the fields can start producing oil and gas. And possibly subsequent orders will possibly tell the oil producers that taxes have also been exempted, because he wants to bring the prices down. But is that feasible? And this is where we think that President Trump may have overshot his expectations, because of three reasons. First, even though oil is produced at is sold today at over $70 per barrel, the cheapest producer of oil in the world is Saudi Arabia. Look at the chart. The second cheapest producer, not the second, but immediately after that, is Russia. The US comes much lower. And there's a second problem. Even though the cost of production looks low, these are historical fields. Each country starts producing more oil in more expensive fields if the price is lower than the market price. In America, the current cost of production for incremental fields is $41 a barrel. At $41 a barrel as cost, no American will produce oil if the price is less than $60. And Trump wants to bring the price down to less than $50. At $60, he may produce. At $70, he makes money. So will Trump's plan succeed? He won't be able to get oil production cheaper because, as I said, the minimum cost will be $41. Saudi will still produce at a cheaper rate. Russia will produce at a cheaper rate. America may find that the costs are too high. In fact, if the price of oil comes to $40 or $50, 30% of America's existing oil fields will have to close down because it's unviable. I don't think Trump thought about that. And there's a third problem. America is easily the largest producer of oil and gas. And as the chart says, America likes to say, we are the biggest. And because we are the biggest, we should have the largest market share. But there's a problem. And the problem is that the proven reserves of oil and gas that are underground, America is not the largest. To understand a country's strength, you have not only to look at production, you have to look at underground reserves. When it comes to oil production, you find that the US is one of the lowest in terms of hidden reserves. Venezuela is the largest. This means only two things. That even though America's reserves are low, America is flogging its reserves to produce much more as a share of reserves than other countries. It wants to control the world, so it's flogging its reserves, disregardful of environment, and that could explain why Trump does not like environmental constraints. The same is the case with LNG reserves. The US is not the largest. And when we look at this, we realize that even though the US may be the largest producer and the largest seller of oil and gas, it is not the largest, will not be the largest after a few years. Let's look at another number. And when it comes to LNG, there's a very interesting story. It's not a story, but it's a fact. In LNG, the world's biggest producer, also one of the largest reserves, is Russia. That is the reason why Russia wanted oil pipelines everywhere in Europe. And if you remember, the US possibly was responsible for the blasting of the Nord Stream pipelines which connected Russia to Europe. Even just when the Ukraine war began, these pipelines were demolished because America wanted Europe to be dependent on American LNG. But LNG is a very funny commodity. Unlike oil, where there's a market price and it's traded in the market, there's a spot price. LNG does not have a spot price. Liquid natural gas is a kind of product where once a well is dug, it must be sold. You cannot stop producing that gas. So if you dig a well, you must have a buyer ready first, which is why all LNG is sold on long-term contracts. So when you get the contract, that is the time when you drill the well. So your contracts price on the cost of production, the future requirements that you have, and then you start digging the well. America, if it wants to play the LNG game, must first find long-term buyers. But nobody trusts America today. After it seized Iran's money, after it threatens to seize the money that Russia had with foreign banks, nobody wants to keep its money in America. And long-term contracts are dangerous. Europe also prefers to wait till a pipeline comes from Libya, from Iraq to Europe rather than sign a long-term contract with the US. And that is also the reason why the US is trying to twist Europe's arms so that it has a long-term contract of LNG with America. So one, America is not the largest producer of LNG. Two, it does not have long-term customers. Three, it does not even have large reserves. It's quite possible that America's plans of reducing gas prices and oil prices and becoming the biggest supplier and the market player in LNG and petroleum may not actually happen. Also remember that China has already built pipelines into its own country all the way from Russia. Hence, the pressure on India. The power of Sakhalin pipes are there. One pipe was already there. A second pipe is ready and more pipes will come in. Everyone, including Turkmenistan, Iran, and all the other oil and gas producing countries have decided to build pipelines connecting the whole of Europe so that they're not dependent on other suppliers. Oman and Qatar are large players. It is not likely that the US will win this game, notwithstanding the great plans that Trump may have. For Trump, oil will prove to be very slippery and he may slip on it. Thank you for watching this. And yes, do click the like button. Do click the bell icon, subscribe so that you can be informed about our analysis constantly and we can have you as our subscribers. Thank you very much.